Hi there. This is the Wisdom in Thy Youth audio show, an interfaith space for the rising generation and the young at heart who believe in God and in Jesus Christ. I am Lori Beard, your host. As a mother of 8 children, life coach, and youth enthusiast, I trust the rising generation's potential for greatness. I am super excited to have my dear friend, and she's been my mentor in the storytelling realm. Her name is Natalia Nutting. Natalia, how are you? Welcome to the Wisdom in Thy Youth.
Thank you. I am so happy and blessed to be here. I'm so grateful to you. You're a light in the world. And thank you for this time to share hope and faith for everyone.
We're realizing that we are people of faith, right? Me as a Christian. And I thought of that as a very personal thing that I wanted to keep not secret, but I wanted to keep very private, very personal. And now I'm getting out of the closet. I am just saying, I want to declare this to the world. Everybody is coming out saying whatever it is they want to say that's been kind of suppressed. And I think it's time for me to also do the same. And what better thing to declare that I have faith and I have hope in a tomorrow that's going to be beautiful. And how about you? I know that when I attended your retreat, it was such an honor and such a beautiful experience. You kind of also started sharing your spiritual belief. And I love that. And this is why you're here.
Thank you, Lori. Well, I've been practicing Falundafa. It's also called Falun Gong, and I have been practicing this ancient Chinese discipline for more than 20 years. Since early the end of 2003, and I would say the beginning of 2004 was when I began practicing it deeply. And I've been sharing the practice since the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's been such a beautiful journey. But what is giving me the strength as well and the push to now share it more widely is recently I heard some people voicing some fears of death due to COVID, due to illnesses. And that is something that I realized I never been afraid of death. I've never been afraid of the dark. And it's a light that we have when we have faith, when we know that we are embraced by the divine, by the creator, that there might be other fears in our humanly experience, but overall, there's no fear of nothingness. There's no fear of death when you carry this light inside you that is sparked by faith. And I believe that if we feel this way, if we've been granted with this gift, then we must share it unapologetically. We must be the voice for those that need light and hope, just like you are.
Yeah, I love that. And I appreciate you kind of letting me know that you've been sharing it from the beginning. Me too. Like, I've never denied anything. It's just like held it so inside of me, right? And I just love it. And in my belief, Natalia, tell me if this is also along in harmony with your practice. We believe we're eternal beings. We believe that we are and we will be. We're eternal beings. So yes, like you, my grandma used to, I've told you many stories about my grandma and how I was so thirsty for her teachings and her wisdom. She's told me, no, I don't feel that, Lori. It's going to happen to all of us. And we need to take it as another step in life, in this mortal existence. So I love how you shared that about the fears of people, right? Like, why fighting life? Why we're all going to die? Why it's not worth it? And I just love that you have that enlightenment. You have that knowledge and that wisdom within you that there's no reason to fear. So what was happening in your life, or how did you find this practice that you embrace so beautifully?
When I was a little child, ever since a very young age, I was 3 years old, I was looking for the meaning of my life. Why was I here on earth? It was a type of desperate feeling, like, what am I doing trapped in this body? I knew that I felt that I belonged to the whole of the universe, but I just couldn't understand why or how to get there, how to find the deeper meaning of my life. My family was not religious. It wasn't, I mean, my mum would come from a Protestant family, but not a practitioner. And then my father, Catholic, but not really practitioners. And it was not something that was taught to me at home, but I had such a deep thirst for spirituality, but depth of understanding, and I couldn't find it. And I remember asking my mom, oh, can I go to this church or that church? And mom would say, yes, go. So I would go to this church and that church and try them out to really find an understanding. And I remember I tried one, and I was 6 years old, and they were speaking tongues, and it's like, oh no, this doesn't feel right. It's not here. And then when I was 10, I remember coming across, so I grew up in a very little village in the countryside in Argentina, and there wasn't much available there. And so I remember coming across, when I was 10, to the image of Jesus with the heart and rays, beautiful rays radiating. Oh, and it gave me so much peace. And I felt, yeah, that is the image that I have been seeing since a very young age. That is how I want to be. I want to shine bright. And I started reading. I had a lot of difficulty reading because I was dyslexic. But the thing that I understood, it was that Jesus acts as a model for behavior. And I gathered that from a young age, because I think that when we are little, we are very innocent and our understanding is very profound. And if we are given the right environment and the freedom to explore faith, we can really understand it at a deep level. But something happened throughout the years as I was going to different churches, that I felt that aspect of following a behavior to achieve the kingdom of heaven was not being practiced. I couldn't see it, and that really felt like a sacrilege.
Yeah, hypocritical, or
and maybe there was a lack of understanding. I didn't blame people. I didn't blame the pastors or churches. No, it was just the feeling that I had as a child. And I remember being 12, and I said, I just can't just follow the crowd and pretend that, just by attending church you will be saved. It didn't feel right. I was thirsty for congruency and for putting into practice the teachings. And I felt for many years disappointment, but always I carried hope and faith in my heart. And it wasn't until I was 21 years old that I had gone to live to England. My mom is English, so I left Argentina. I left my little village in the countryside where I grew up in a very pure and innocent way. I was not exposed to evil aspects of the world, let's say consumerism or things that can tarnish your innocence. And I moved there, here to England, where I'm now, and I lived in a city, and suddenly I was exposed to a lot of the pleasures of society, right, that I was not aware of. Money, buying tons of things, everything at your fingertips, suddenly maybe casual relationships, and even though I was quite reserved, I was exposed to all of that, and I felt for many years that my spirituality was being degraded. I felt emptiness and confusion. And it was at that moment when I was 21 years old, when I was 21, I was living with my brother, and we were not talking amongst brothers and sisters. But once I enter home and I saw my brother sitting in the living room, and he was sitting very peacefully, and he looked at me and he talked to me, and I was like, Thomas, you're talking to me. What happened? And he said, I just feel a sense of peace, and I want to share it with you. And it was the first time that my brother mentioned that word, peace, was not in his vocabulary. And I said, what's happening? He had stopped smoking, drinking, partying. He felt grounded, and he was speaking and communicating with me, his sister. It was like, what is happening? And he said,
so you were not in talking terms. There was something.
No, it was like we never really communicated amongst brothers and sisters. It was like, he's my brother, she's my sister. Yeah, let's pay the rent and what have you, and not deep communication.
Gotcha.
Brotherhood, so this was a massive thing, and I said, what happened, Thomas? And he said, well, I've been learning Falundafa.
Okay.
And what is that? And I look to the right, and I see in the living room where he put the books, and there was a couple of blue books. It's like, what are these blue books? Well, those are the books. And I'm like, well, can I read it? And he said, yes, you can. But if you read it in one go. Don't read a little bit for curiosity and then you leave it, because this is something very profound. Read it in one go. And I trusted my brother, and because I saw his change, and I saw the peace and the groundness that he had, and love coming through him because he was communicating with me. I took it to the letter. I read it in one go.
You committed, yes.
Committed myself, and I took a day off from work, and I started reading the book of Falundafa at 8 in the morning, and I finished reading it at 8 in the morning the following day. It took me 24 hours to read it. Because of my dyslexia, I always had trouble to read. I was always interested, thirsty to learn, but I couldn't, because I couldn't read properly. So I would read a little bit and fall asleep, and read a little bit and fall asleep. And so at 8 in the morning the following day, I finished reading, and I closed the book, and I say, I don't understand anything. But I felt in my heart that there was something so deep and profound. And I remember it was early morning, and the white curtains of my bedroom were flowing, and I opened French windows, and I opened my arms, and I wanted to just shout out loud and let everyone know that here it is. This is it. Truthfulness, compassion, tolerance. That was the only thing that I got from the book. That is it. It's as simple as that. And it was at that moment that everything made sense. When it comes to spirituality, it's not just a label, and religion is not just a label that you have. It's meant to put into practice. It's meant to put into practice the principles that are taught. And when I learned about truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance, and how when you change your behavior. When you try to assimilate yourself to these three principles, which are explained in the text of Falundafa as the nature and the characteristic of the universe, then everything changes. Your body changes, your mind opens up, you are not restrained by the universe, your wisdom is not restrained, you're opened up, and you start, your heart opens up to compassion, to being broader, and to not focusing only on yourself and pity yourself and your little life. You open up to care deeply for other beings, to develop compassion beyond love. Because I understood that there's a misunderstanding in the word love that is more connected to emotion. Compassion goes beyond, is for all sentient beings, and that is what Falundafa gave me, that very simple understanding of how we can change our behavior and put it in practice in everyday life, so that we really are on the path of getting to the kingdom of heaven and not just a label.
I love it. Natalia, I love that you shared this experience. It gave me the chills, it gave me goosebumps to that, and I appreciate you telling us this story on how is it that you found out about Falundafa and what impact it, like almost instant, like an instant change where you wanted to go through that conversion, right? Through that practice of, instead of going through the motions, you want to be, instead of a hearer of the word, a doer of the word. And I love that. And I appreciate you coming to this and explaining this part of your journey on finding Falundafa.
Thank you for listening to this transformative episode of the Wisdom in Thy Youth Show. May the wisdom shared today resonate deeply within you. We invite you to stay connected with us by subscribing to the show, ensuring that you never miss a moment of inspiration and growth. Share this podcast with your loved ones, extending the ripple of wisdom to empower the youth in their pursuit of their true destinies. Together, let us continue to fuel this movement. Remember, the power of wisdom lies within you. Embrace it, live it, thrive with it. And until we meet again, stay inspired, stay curious, and may the wisdom of the ages and the Holy Scriptures guide your path.